beast. As a Riders fanboy, Sonic Racing Crossworlds looks freaking amazing. I'm not gonna lie, the first teaser didn't move me at all, but the more gameplay I've seen, the more I believe this game is about to be the truth. It even made me re-download Team Sonic Racing just cause I cannot wait to play this goddamn game. But because this is a pretty saturated video game genre, with other upcoming kart racers potentially coming this year, I'm gonna need this game to really stick landing. Compared to most Sonic games, the 3 racing games in the series are all actually pretty well polished. There's no huge game-breaking bugs or any visual glitches. They're actually really clean and beautiful. But there are certain things that have definitely given them that cheaper AA feel. Small rosters, generic looking vehicles, the little variety between vehicle types, the lack of cutscenes, and having only around 16 to 24 tracks compared to Crash Team Racing's 40 or Mario Kart 8's crazy 96. These things help give the game the perception that it was a bargain bin game. It really doesn't help that kart racers are also the type of easy cash grab type game that a lot of the big corporations try to cash in on. You can sometimes look at kart racers in the same vein as those movie tie-in games. It's really hard for kart racers to beat that stigma. The major thing that makes consumers not that interested in Sonic Racing is, of course, the giant elephant in the room. Mario Kart is such a household name, and it's honestly harder to find a young gamer who hasn't played Mario Kart more than it is to find someone who has. Yes, Crash Team Racing is amazing too. I really love that game. It has a great campaign and it has a really high skill ceiling, but people still go harder for MK. They just have such a chokehold on the genre, and part of it is because its quality is undeniable. But of course, those games aren't perfect either. And I really do feel like Crossworlds can shoulder in some space to be a successful kart racer. I'm feeling pretty optimistic on a bunch of things. Crossplay and its availability on pretty much every console is going to work heavy in this game's favor. And the gameplay is looking fire, way better than it's ever been in this franchise. I'm hoping for a stronger single player mode because of how strongly the Rider series stories added to that game, especially with its additional fan favorite characters. But because of the multiversal aspect to this game, part of me thinks that the story is going to be on the lighter side. I do hope that Team Sonic Racing's team mechanic makes a comeback for a side mode, because this is actually really cool and unique. That game also had a lot of really cool challenge races to do as part of the story mode, which I would love added back too. And I'm so hyped for the customization that we've been shown. Having enough players to keep the service populated has always been a problem with kart races outside of Mario Kart, but as this will be the first one with crossplay, I think this will work strongly in its favor. I think the addition of extreme gear will get us, who admittedly slept a little bit on the racing series, to come and join in too. I really hope they bring back the other types of extreme gear, like the skates, the flyers, and the motorcycles back as well. I'm so intrigued to see what this boost type gameplay they're saying that the extreme gear has specifically. Considering that they're keeping it away from the beta test, it has my hopes up, but at the same time, only time will tell. I am concerned about the stage count, however. Like I said before, the previous racing games in the series have only had like 16 stages, some of them had 24, which is actually really bad. I genuinely feel like that was one of the biggest weaknesses of this game's predecessors. I'm thankful we are at least getting a season pass, but real talk, you gotta at least be at the Wii U Mario Kart base roster of 32 stages. Because of the Crossworlds gimmick, it could potentially make the stage list feel even smaller, as every one race you do is low-key 2 stages at once, or maybe even 3 stages at once. So you could low-key, in the time that you would traditionally do 4 stages, you could low-key burn through 8 stages or 8 environments all in that same time frame. Like, it makes you wonder if they're going to go the traditional cup route with like a cup with like 4 stages or 3 stages in it, or I guess what they did in other racing games that they had like the act. How many tracks are going to be a part of each cup if we're gonna do that multiversal thing? And though that's a worry of mine, it could obviously be the exact opposite. Potentially, because you'd only be experiencing a stage a bite at a time, it could help it feel more fresh, since it's like a fleeting moment, like a brief moment of bliss, of that 40 seconds where you're in Metal Harbor, when you're on that second lap and then it goes away and you're just craving for it even more. It could be like when you bump into a friend on the street and you ain't seen them in a long time, and like you're both in a hurry, you can't stay long. It's like, no, like I'm saying bye to my, like, no, come back. and the warmth of their hug. You hug them and it fades away and it's cold outside. It's like, no, that warmth, you're chasing that warmth. It could make you feel wistful toward the stages. Like when you see your ex-wife at a coffee shop, I don't know if y'all ever experienced that. And you get a whiff of the perfume that she used to always wear. And as she's walking away, like the scent is fading from your olfactory nerves. It could feel like the sands of time slipping through your fingers. And everything you wanted to say to her, just over the years, it's bubbling up. And you run outside to go chase after her, to go say everything you wanted. Then you see her get in the car of her new husband, and you realize she had a ring on her finger. And then she's gone. That's how it could feel like with the stages. So it could make you just want to play the stages even more. But this is all mainly just speculation. We really have no idea how much content will be at launch or what will be in the season pass. The main flaw I'm concerned about is slightly more concrete with what we've been shown. Crossworlds is months away and every bit of footage we've seen is subject to change. However, the one flaw that I need them to fix is this trick system, ASAP. From my understanding, we've been shown two aspects of the trick system. We are shown the general tricks that you're going to be doing and the speed in which they happen. They seem to kind of be going at that same speed in TSR, which is fine. Though I will say that before I actually began to play the Sonic Racing games, I wasn't the biggest fan of the way the front flips and back flips would look, especially with the cars. If you notice, Mario Kart really does shy away from having their cars, especially their bigger cars, do front flips and back flips. And even then, they will let them do like one in the air and that's it. A lot of times the animation will start off fast and they will flip and then it kind of slows down towards the end. It's like they kind of glides back into position. I think because they know at its core that it doesn't make much sense for cars to be doing crazy flips, only in certain scenarios, of course. Just looking at the older Sonic Racing games, that was the one thing I always thought looked kind of crazy. Like that's the biggest thing that I always thought made the game look a little cheap. It looks like they just grabbed the car with their mouse and they just like did a 360 degrees when it does a front flip. Like it didn't convey weight or physics very well to me. I will admit that after playing, it really wasn't something that bothered me because the trick system is actually really cool. In Team Sonic Racing, for example, every time you go off of a ledge or anytime you're in the air, you can use the right stick to do a trick. You don't have to like press jump or drift right before it or anything. Or it's not like Sonic Riders where you have to charge up a jump in order to trick. But from what we know from the Crossworlds manual that dropped, tricks will be done with the left stick like you do in Sonic Riders. It's when you mix in the gadgets when things start getting a little crazy. You notice if you watch the gameplay carefully, there are some times where when you do tricks, it starts giving you this purple flash of energy, as well as the increased speed in which you do these tricks. Gadgets is going to be a part of the RPG elements to this game where you can add modulators to change how you race. And one of them is apparently something that allows you to do more tricks faster than you typically could, which is a cool idea, of course. And I think it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to use. But to me, this is a big issue for like three big reasons. First of all, if we're doing tricks with the left stick, if it's anything like Sonic Riders, the way you do the fastest tricks is really to just rotate in a circle. So it's about to get real Mario Party minigame up in this piece real quick. If you just take a look at some of the levels where you can get air really easy, like over all the little bumps or all the very tiny ramps, I think it would get really old to be spinning the stick literally every 2 seconds. You're mashing the stick as fast as you can every time you get into the air. Not only does that kind of take away from like the uniqueness of doing it in like Sonic Riders, like in Sonic Riders, in order to even do a trick that fast, first you had to charge up your air, and then you had to be pulling the stick backwards or forwards to determine how high you go, and then you had to release A at the correct time on the ramp. And then you were afforded that reward of being able to do tricks that fast. Because that was kind of a rare occurrence in that game, imagine if every time you went into the air in Sonic Riders, you were mashing the stick in a circle. Like, not only is that going to break somebody's controller, it better not be mine. I would be so mad if I literally am probably going to be playing with a GameCube. I'm going to figure out a way to play with a GameCube controller because that's how I like to race. If I screw up my controller, I'm going to be so mad. You got me sitting there rotating this mug like I'm crazy every single time. But I actually am concerned about the controllers, first of all. Second of all, whereas you are rewarded with your mastery and timing in Sonic Riders, in this game, you automatically get to do the super trick anytime you want. so they kind of like dumbed it down a little bit. It was really cool to be able to pull off that giant jump and to finally see yourself go that high in the air. Say like, oh yes, and now I get to go crazy on the control stick. But now that's just going to be default. Just because you chose a gadget, now you're going to be going the control stick like crazy all the time. But third of all, and to me one of the biggest reasons, is that it just looks a little ridiculous and it looks kind of jank. And like I said, we're going against the big dog. MK tries so hard to make their characters look all nice and pretty when they in the air. They did a little flip. But then Sonic team got Tails over here doing like 50 flips in a row. And again, it's not even necessarily the issue that he's doing a whole bunch of front flips. It's just that they're not selling it correctly. Like, I know graphics quote unquote don't matter, or like visuals is not the most important thing, but polish is very important in this genre. And the last thing that a Sonic game needs is for people to be looking at something and think that looks janky or unpolished or whatever. They love to call a Sonic game janky. I want us to be able to stand on our own 2 feet like we deserve without any of these knockoff allegations. Tricking is going to be so integral for this game. This is not an area where I feel we can afford to be looking quote unquote janky, especially if it's a gadget that a lot of people are going to be using. I spoke earlier on how I used to not really like even the traditional tricks in Sonic Racing with the front flips and back flips, but if you look at the water transformations, the tricks look absolutely gorgeous. And part of it is, like I said, that weight is being displayed here. The buoyancy of the ship bouncing up in the water and then bouncing up and then doing a flip, it looks so gorgeous, and it helps sell that natural feeling. That's how I want the cars to feel and look too, in order to emphasize that weight and the physics correctly, as well as maintaining the risk reward you get from tricks. I feel like this ultra speed trick gadget shouldn't activate unless you're going at a certain speed. Actually, I don't even think it should really be a gadget. I think it should kind of just follow traditional momentum physics. Let's say if you're boosting or you're going off of a boost ramp, like the giant ramp in the Metal Harbor trap, it totally makes sense that you can boom, boom, boom and flip up, around, and all around. If you're going at that speed and you have that boost, it feels like more of a reward when you got the whole stage, you're going off that thing, and then you can do the 50 trillion tricks in the air. Or even if you're boosting off of a more normal ramp, I think you should be rewarded with doing the 50 million tricks. That would actually add a bit more skill expression to the boost wisp item, because now instead of just using the wisp whenever there's not a boost ramp around, now it's, oh, you see a little hill, or oh, you see like a smaller ramp that with no boost panel, oh, now you have the chance to go crazy on the tricks and get a way bigger boost than the typical person would. So the slower you go into the air, the slower your tricks should come out. I can imagine them keeping it consistent, just like how it is like in TSR. I don't think it really matters what speed you're going at. As long as you're in the air, you will literally do a front flip or back flip, as long as you have enough air time. Though again, on the outside looking in, I never liked the way those tricks looked anyway, because they didn't line up again with the physics. It didn't make sense to be going slowly and all of a sudden you just do a barrel roll in midair. And I'm all for there still being a gadget that increases the speed of your tricks, but maybe it just decreases the speed threshold for you to do the ultra max tricks. Maybe like if you're going at your car's max speed, you can do the ultra tricks. Or maybe all levels of tricks are just slightly faster. Like maybe even if you're going slow, you can still just do tricks slightly faster than you would if you didn't have the gadget. Also, the purple visual effects on the gadget are a little overdone. And from the previews we've seen, when you see them flipping like that, you really can't see anything. But I can imagine that'll be cleaned up before release. Not only will these changes make the game look more realistic and clean, but another thing, this is actually 4 reasons, it gives us the chance to admire the actual animations and character models these guys have. The characters are slightly obscured because those purple special effects are so high right now, but if you look closely, Sonic and some of his tricks, Full is doing the SA1 pose right in the middle of it. Like that mug goes so hard, but you will never see that mug because you were literally flipping around, zapping around, looking crazy. Like, let's reduce a little bit of the spazzing and make it only occur when it would fit the best gameplay wise. I've really not seen many people say anything negative about this game, which is crazy. Like, scouring the IGN comments, it's crazy seeing how positive people are being. And even when people would bring up the tricks looking janky, looking a little spazzy, it's really a lot of people's kind of like joking along with it. But I know not everybody feels the same way, and every joke has a bit of truth to it. If there's a clear area of the game that doesn't look very well, I feel like we should address it and fix it. I'm so excited for this goddamn game. I want to know, how are y'all feeling about it? Do y'all think the trick should stay as it is? You think I'm just being annoying? Are y'all copping this game? Let me know down in the comments. And subscribe to your boy, BeastMD. My next 2 videos I've been working so long on, I'm trying to get them out to y'all as soon as possible. So thanks for being patient with me. But all y'all stay blessed and have a good one.
I miss my wife, Tails. I miss her a lot. I'll be back.